Hey everyone, my name's Lavonne and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm gonna talk to you all about fetal kick counts. Maybe you've heard that before or your doctor has told you to perform fetal kick counts. So I'm gonna explain what it is, when you should do it, how you do it, and what it means. But before I do that, make sure you subscribe down below, give it a like, share it with a friend, and then let's get going. You may notice that I am currently sitting in scrubs. So if you don't know this already, I am a labor and delivery nurse, although I am fully functioning with Bundle Birth and Nursing Corporation. You can check out the description box down below. I have lots of things going on with Bundle Birth. One of them is nursing trainings. And so while we've been training nurses today, I wanted to jump on here and talk to you about something that has come up when we're talking about the health of your baby. And the question comes up for me a lot, how do I know that my baby's okay while I'm pregnant? And when you go to the doctor, they're checking them out, but what happens in between? And so usually about week 26 to 28 of your pregnancy, around that prenatal visit, your doctor or your midwife might recommend that you do something called fetal kick counts. What is that and how do you do it? A fetal kick count is literally just counting the movements of your baby. Some providers recommend doing it once a day, some twice a day, so I hear a lot of times morning and night. Whatever your provider recommends, there isn't a total exact standard way to do it, other than you sort of want to choose the same time of day when you know your baby might be moving. So I know Justine, who's sitting in the room with me, who's head of Bundle Birth Nurses, said that hers was 11 p.m. at night, every night with her son Nathaniel. So you know when the baby moves. They usually have a wake cycle at night. So then what are you gonna do? You're gonna find a comfortable place in your home or wherever you are, and at that same time of day, you're gonna go lay on your side. Take your clock, even your phone, put on your stopwatch and press start, and then you're gonna focus on the movements of your baby. And so when you feel a kick, it doesn't have to be like a, like where the whole baby's like flipping and flopping inside of you. It could just be like a boom, boom, boom. That counts, and every single movement you're gonna count to 10. The goal is, depending on the provider, is to get 10 kicks in 1 to 2 hours. And I say 1 to 2 hours because some providers say an hour. Now really the standard of care is 2 hours. If you don't get those 10 kicks in 2 hours, then it's time to head on into the hospital and or call your provider, depending on what their preference is, and they should guide you on this. And if they don't, then you're heading on into the hospital because we're concerned that your baby's not moving. Now, what does that mean? Your baby's movements in utero are an indication that they are okay. You should still feel movements while you're in labor occasionally. Now, you might not be focusing on them if you're focusing on the discomfort of the contractions and coping through contractions. That's fine, but every so often you want to just sort of pay attention and say like, have I felt the baby move? This is a great tip for the support people who are there. Maybe you're a doula or you're a partner that's there or a friend helping a friend give birth, that you every so often may want to just suggest, hey, have you felt the baby move recently? And then between contractions, if they're like, I have no idea, then you might want to just alert, if you're at home, to check in on those baby's movements. As long as baby's moving throughout labor, typically that's enough. But prenatally, you're gonna start feeling some movements in your uterus, or your abdomen. It really feels like your abdomen, but inside it's truly the baby, it grows in your uterus, somewhere around week 16 to 20. Now, if it's your first baby, it usually takes a little bit longer for you to feel the movements. And if it's a second, third, fourth, fifth baby, then a lot of times you might feel the baby's movements a little earlier, or you might be able to identify that it's fetal movement earlier. Now, typically with the movements, it's gonna start off with little like butterflies, where you're like, ooh, I feel a little flutter tingle in my abdomen. We're like, ooh, that felt a little weird. And then eventually as the baby grows, then you're gonna start feeling a little bit more of like rolls or punches or kicks. There might be little flutters. And then you want to distinguish between that and hiccups, because you may feel the baby hiccup inside of you, and that's going to be more of a rhythmic like doop 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 doop. That's rather than a like random like, hey mom, what's up? I'm good. All right. Now, we don't really care about counting them until later in your pregnancy because they're going to be really hard to distinguish early on. And we assume that in that first, second trimester, they're going to be not quite as obvious and or pretty unable to count them in a way that really makes sense or that really even matters at that point. So you're distinguishing between the different types of movements, and throughout your pregnancy, you may even start to learn the behavior patterns of your baby, of like what's a foot and what's maybe a hand that's like tickle, tickle, here I am, right? Especially if you can kind of feel your belly as well. But when you're counting fetal movements and you're looking for fetal kicks, and that can be foot kick or that could be hand kick, because it's just really ultimately fetal movements. A hiccup doesn't count, right? So if you're feeling those rhythmic kind of like dook 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 dooks, those don't count as fetal movements. You're waiting for something else that's going to be a little more like a movement of your baby. So if you feel those movements in that hour to 2 hours, and we'll say 2 hours, then great, you're good to go. Now you might feel those movements in 1 minute where it's dung 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 dung, and you're gonna go. That's all you need to do. The other thing is, I don't want you obsessing over these fetal movements. And if you're like, oh my gosh, it's 8 p.m. and I'm out to dinner, like I need to go home and do a fetal kick count. You don't, okay? You know what's normal patterns of movement for your baby. And so as a routine towards the end of your pregnancy, it is recommended because we wanna make sure that everything is safe. But if you're sitting there and you are feeling your baby move and they are blah, 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 rolling around, kick, kick, you know that they're okay. And whether or not you lay down and count, or whether or not you're sitting there and going, wow, that's 10 movements, doesn't really make a difference. Take a deep breath. Your baby is okay. Now, mind you, if you don't get those 10 kicks, or if you're alerted at any point throughout the day that you're like, you know what, I haven't really felt my baby move. The movement has changed. It's usually more, this is abnormal for me, then lay down and do a kick count. It doesn't have to be at the same time of day. And you're gonna count those movements. You might wanna do some ice water. And like, when I say ice water, I mean like chug some ice water, because it sort of shocks your system. And if the baby's sitting close to your stomach, then it gets some of that cold on them, and it may help to kind of wake them up and get them to move. Some sugary substance like some candy or some juice can also help to kind of perk them up if you feel like they're not moving. And then you're laying there for that 1 to 2 hours counting the movements in that circumstance. Now, if you don't feel them moving, those 10 kicks, especially if you're alerted like something doesn't feel right or I haven't felt them move in a while, then it is time to move your way to the hospital, head on in. And us as nurses, we would much rather have you come in. We put you on the fetal monitors, which you've seen that YouTube video. That was my last one. So if you haven't, I'll link it down below so you can check it out so you know what they do in order to check the fetal heart rate and make sure the oxygenation is okay, they're getting enough oxygen. We'd rather you come in, we throw you on the monitors. By throw you, I mean like place the monitors gently on your abdomen to check the fetal heart rate. And then we're like, great, we're good to go. And you're off on your way home safe and sound. And then you can really rest easy knowing that everything's okay and you've had that checkup, rather than you waiting at home and going, no, it's been 2 days since I felt my baby move. That is an indication that there could be something wrong inside, and we definitely want to check that out. We don't want to wait 2 days. We would rather you come in that hours, potentially hour to 2 hours of decreased fetal movement when you can't get them to move, to make sure that everything's okay, and then we can check it out and then either reassure you and or go through some next steps and take care of you and make sure you and your baby are as safe as possible. Thanks everyone for being with me here today. If you want more from me, I have childbirth classes on my website where I walk you through the entire process, what to expect, so that you feel so much more confident and ready for your upcoming labor and birth. I have a coping with labor class, infant safety CPR, all sorts of other things. If you're a labor and delivery nurse, we also have you over there. You can check out the description box down below. I want to know from you when you started feeling those fetal movements, at what week, and was it your first, second, third, fourth pregnancy? And we can all learn from one another and celebrate those movements that really are such a fun indication. Like, hey mom or pregnant person, you're not alone. I'm good. I'm in here. Don't forget about me. I'm growing, I'm stretching, I'm using my muscles, and I'm getting bigger and stronger every day thanks to you caring for me and taking in the nutrients you need and the oxygen and breathing and doing all those things as you build their bodies and bring them to term and then eventually birth them. So comment below when you first felt your baby. Make sure you subscribe down below so you never miss a future video. Make sure you follow me on Instagram because there's lots more going on over on Instagram. And then until next time, don't forget to flex and flow, and I will see you soon. Bye.